I've been a financial planner for almost 20 years, and if you're over 50 with nothing or very little saved for retirement, I want to give you a step-by-step guide I've given to my clients that have allowed them to catch up on their savings and eventually live a very comfortable retirement. For a lot of you, you're wondering, is it even possible? I'm in my 50s, maybe I'm in my 60s, I'm getting close to when I should retire, but I really have nothing saved and I feel lost for words. I'm gonna have to work forever and there's no hope, but there is hope. And so I'm gonna give you 5 steps today that you can follow to get you back on track and make sure you at least get to a retirement and some step-by-step to get you there as soon as possible. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, join the community. We release 2 brand new videos every week around retirement, tax, and estate planning for Canadians. With recent inflation spikes, cost of living, just everyday expenses, it's becoming even more challenging to save for retirement. Every single dollar you're making is going just to put food on the table and shelter over your head. I get it. Things have become very expensive. So tip number 1 for you is to get a financial landscape of where you currently are. Do you have a budget? That's the first step you want to create. Most people are not living in a budget, and especially for those of you that are getting closer to retirement and are a little bit behind on savings, you need to know what's coming in and what's going out. Once you figure what's coming in and going out, you need to start looking at where can you cut expenses? Or is there anything on your expense line that you can reduce? Because every dollar that you reduce frees up a dollar for future you, for your retirement, to allow you to eventually one day retire. For a lot of you, as you work through your budget, you're going to realize that a lot of your expenses and money out the door goes to servicing debt. A lot of you may have credit card debt, mortgages, line of credit, goes on and on. Take a look at your debt. A lot of you are paying so much servicing interest on your debt that it bothers me and it's setting you way far behind. So look at a consolidation loan. So basically what a consolidation loan is, you have a bunch of credit card debt, maybe car payments, there's a bunch of different things. It consolidates it into one payment and typically will bring down the interest rate. Especially if you have credit card debt, you're probably paying 19 to 25% on your credit card debt. That's eating away at your ability to save for retirement. So again, as you do your budget, look at what am I paying? Like, what are my debts? How much am I paying into that every month? What's the interest rate? And as you start hammering away at your debt, there's a couple ways you can pay it down. Everyone's different. You can look at the smallest amount and start paying that down. So if you have 3 credit cards, find the smallest one and pay that down. Okay, one's gone, work on the next one, pay that down, onto the next one. So there's a bit of an accomplishment along the way. The other way is to pay the highest interest one. So whatever debt has the highest interest, start chipping away at that because that's the biggest savings. Again, I prefer that method, but I know for a lot of people that we've talked to, they prefer to have those milestones of, okay, I've accomplished 1 credit card, that's off the table, I've cut up the credit card, it's out of my life. And so they like that. It's more step-by-step. There's moments in time where they can see the benefit. Where sometimes paying the high interest card debt, it may be the most beneficial from a dollar standpoint, but there's not that reward. So again, figure out what option is best for you. But at the end of the day, the key is start paying down those cards. Again, if you have a lot of credit card debt, look at a consolidation loan just to lower that interest rate for you. Go to your bank, talk to your financial institution, and they can help you set that up. Once your credit card debt is paid off, you want to build up a bit of an emergency fund. And because you're a bit later in life and you've fallen a little bit behind possibly, I need an emergency fund, but it doesn't have to be kind of 12 to 24 months. 3 to 6 months of expenses would be ideal. So put that aside, put it into a high interest savings account, something that's flexible, that's not going to lose money, that's earning you a bit of interest. So now you've paid off your debt and you've built a bit of a buffer for the what if. And now we can start looking forward to figure out what's the best solution. Again, you can't just start saving for the future because as soon as you have a little bit of a hiccup, guess what? All that hard work is gone. So let's build that foundation first and work up from there. And I get it. At a later stage of life, it's like getting preached to when you're a teenager in your 20s, right? Like this is very basic stuff. But many of you aren't following the basics. And a lot of you, that's why you've fallen behind. Now, cost of living obviously is a big part of it. But sometimes we have to take it back to the basics, the fundamentals, building a budget, paying off debt, doing those basic steps to create better habits. And I promise you, it'll get you to where you need to go because I've seen it firsthand with our clients the last 20 years. The second thing I need you to do is to set a realistic and a flexible retirement goals. So again, when would you like to retire? How much do you think you need? How much income? All that kind of stuff. You have to set goals. If we don't goal set, we don't know where we're trying to go. You should do this with all aspects of your life. I encourage you, if you don't set goals, I've done a few videos on this before, but setting goals financially, personally, everything in your life, you should set goals on an annual basis and have kind of a 1, 3, 5, 10-year goal. And that shows you, where do I want to go? What am I working towards? Because if you just start saving, what are you saving for? What's the end goal? Does it really matter? And that's when we put financial plans together for clients. I would say, I want you to know why you're doing this. Because if you know why you're making a certain decision, it's easier to make it. You know the net benefit of that. So again, you want to set some goals. Now, I want you to set retirement goals, but that are a bit flexible, because you're just getting started on this and there's going to be some flex and some movement on it. So again, say, if you're 60 years old and you say, you know what, if I could retire by 70, I'd be happy. So if I could retire by 70 and have $3,000 a month, I'm happy with that. Perfect. That's a realistic retirement goal. Now we need to work backwards on how to get there. So now that you have that realistic retirement goal, I want you to work backwards and set out a savings plan. So you have your budget, you've cut expenses, you start working on your debt. Now we're saving for the future. How much extra cash flow can you squeeze? And again, you're at a point in life where you want to enjoy life still, don't get me wrong, but you want to make sure you can retire one day. You can't work forever. So you're going to have to sacrifice a bit now for future you. So how much can you kind of squeeze out of that budget to start putting away? Start putting away as much as you can. So step one would be save every single dollar that you can. Don't worry if it's not actually getting you to your end goal. Start with something. And once you started with something, you'll see it starts compounding. Wow, I've saved $100, $1,000, $10,000. It'll start to compound itself and you'll see the net benefit. And trust me, you will start to free up more money in your budget that you didn't think was even there. Happens all the time. I see it day in and day out. So start small, start with something, and start to grow it from there. And have a goal of every 3 to 6 months to boost it up, even $5 a month, $10 a month. Every little bit will help, and that'll start to, again, compound on itself to put you in a better situation as you get later in life. The third tip I have for you is to boost your savings and target some specific saving strategies. And I'm going to outlay a few of them here. The very first one is to automate your savings. So pay yourself first. So when your paycheck comes in, boom, $200 automatically goes out to my RSP or whatever it is. The automated savings will massively help, because then you're not paying yourself last, you're actually paying yourself first. So when money comes in, hey, I can afford $200, so that's going out the door. Whatever is left is what's left. And again, as you start to bump that up, you'll learn to live on a little bit less and thus saving a little bit more. So the first step is to automate your savings. The second tip I have for you, and it blows my mind how many people don't do this, is to maximize your employer matching. Many of you work for a company that has some sort of group RSP plan or employer matching. So they might match 3% of your income or a dollar amount every paycheck. And you're not maximizing that because you think, well, I can't afford it. Like I can't afford the 3%. But if you put in 3, they're putting in 3 or maybe 5. And that's free money. That's a free raise. Find a way to maximize. And this is really, if you have a work plan, this is the first place you need to start saving if there's a matching. If you can free up money, get the full match. Once you've gotten the full match at work, then start doing your own personal stuff. But it blows my mind how many people are behind on retirement savings and don't do any of the matching at their company work. Like it's a free raise. You're double your savings typically, sometimes tripling your savings from $1, right? I've seen many companies, if you put in 2, they'll put in 5, but you have to do the 2, right? That's a great return on investment. We all want a great investment. That is the best investment you can have. So take a look, talk to your work. Maybe your work doesn't have a plan. Talk to them about putting a plan in place that you can now take advantage of. Another way to boost your savings is to actually invest your tax return. So as you've been starting to save into your RSP, at tax time, hopefully you get a bit of a tax refund. Now, that isn't free money. That's your tax dollars coming back to you because you've worked hard to save into an RSP. Use that refund to invest, either back in RSP, TFSA, whatever makes the most sense for you. But a lot of you are getting your tax refund saying, free money. Let's go buy this, travel this, whatever. No, that's your tax dollars that you prepaid. That they're saying, hey, you actually gave us too much. Here's some of that back. So it's not free money from CRA. Trust me, CRA does not give out free money. I can guarantee you that. It is your money coming back to you. Put it back into savings. So many of you are not turning that back into savings and you're blowing it. So any tax refund you get or any bonus from work, those lump sum payments, put all of that into savings. RSP, TFSA, doesn't matter where, just put it away for future you. Another tip to boost your savings would be to change your lifestyle choices. And what I mean by that is a lot of you are far behind on savings, but you have a new car, you have, a couple road bikes, you have whatever it is. Everyone's got their hobbies and their things and whatever. And sure, it's good to stay active and have a car that works and all of that, but a lot of you are wasting a lot of money on outward appearance. And that outward appearance is going to cost you. Trust me, if you're worried about your outward appearance, which a lot of you are, and I get it, and you're spending money on new vehicles and I got to look this way and act this way and do this and go out for dinner and all that, guess what? Your outward appearance at 70, 75 is you're still working because you couldn't figure out a way to save for retirement. So find a better balance between your current lifestyle and what you want your future lifestyle to be. Because a lot of you are focusing just on today and tomorrow. And you need to kind of shift that to, yes, enjoy life. Don't get me wrong. I'm not this person saying you should not enjoy life today so that you can in the future. We don't know if future will be there, but we need to save for it. And so small adjustments need to be made for many of you watching this video. The fourth tip I have for you is to adjust your investment strategy. And there's a lot of avenues I could go here, and I'm just going to touch on a few of them, but talk to your investment advisor. So for many of you that are starting late or you feel like you're behind in savings, for the majority of that I talk to, you're looking to hit home runs. And so you've saved up $10, $20, $30,000 and you're trying to double that in a couple of years. And you're trying to hit home run after home run. And the reality is a lot of you are striking out, and you're getting further and further behind in your savings. So don't feel that, well, just because I'm behind, I need to get a 15, 20, 50% return. And you're taking on investment risks that you shouldn't be taking on. Again, work with your investment advisor to figure out what the best risk profile and structure and investments is for you. But for a lot of you, you're taking on way more risk. You're doing DIY, you're trying to buy that penny stock that's going to go from 2 cents up to $1, and that's your retirement plan. But the reality is that's probably not going to happen. And so if it doesn't happen, if that 2 cent goes to zero, which most of the time it does, then where are you? You're better off just plugging ahead steady, slow, good quality investments. And then the opposite of that bucket is those of you that are behind because you've never taken any risk on your investments and you've been sitting in a high interest savings account. And yes, the last few years have been gravy years for you because you've gotten your 5 or 6% on your savings account. But for the 30 years before that, you've been getting 1, maybe 2%. And you've fallen behind because you haven't had the ability to kind of step out of that shell and take on a little bit of risk. And that's the benefit of when you build a retirement plan, you can see how much money do I need on an annual basis. And you'll see the majority, 90% or so of your assets, if not more, you're not touching every year. So you might be taking out 5 to 10% of your assets in the first few years. Okay, well, you need 15, 20, 25% of your assets more flexible, but the rest of it can continue to grow. And if you look at any chart of the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, yes, there's a lot of this. But guess what? If you look over long term, it consistently goes up. So again, figure out what the best risk profile is for you. But if you're one of these people that are like, I don't take risk, as interest rates come back down, you're going to fall behind. Inflation's higher than the interest rate you can get. That's an issue. You're going to continue to fall behind and never get back ahead. So some of you are in the home run bucket. Some of you are in, I'm taking a bunt every time I get to the plate. Start finding where you can hit singles or doubles. Maybe the odd triple, but try and go for singles and doubles, and it'll put yourself in a better situation moving forward. The fifth and final tip I have for you is to mitigate or negotiate some of your costs that you have on an ongoing basis, like cable, internet, utilities. There's a lot of bills that you may have that you can either A, get rid of, or B, negotiate down. I know cell phone providers are notorious for this. If you give them a call and say, hey, I'm looking to switch because of cost and this and that, guess what? They bend over backwards for you. In fact, I've had my bill cut in half before. And get more service. So there's a lot of flexibility there. So take a look through your bill. Yes, it does take time. Typically these internet providers and cell phone providers aren't the best at communication, either online or through the phone. It does take a bit of time, but if you can save $10 or $20 a month for many, many years, it compounds out. That money goes back into your pocket, into your savings, again, into future you. So take a look at all the expenses. Again, it goes back to point number 1 around budget. You need to create a budget. You need to see where your money is going. And again, Eliminate that debt. Work on negotiating some of these expenses or eliminating some of these expenses, because trust me, these expenses, a lot of them, I bet you could cut $50 to $150 a month out by eliminating or reducing, by negotiating some of these ongoing expenses that you have. One final and bonus tip here for you is, for a lot of you that are getting into your late 50s, into your 60s, you're looking at like, I am behind, how do I kind of get back ahead or back to where I should be? And cash flow is an issue. So as soon as you hit 60, you start your Canadian pension plan, your CPP, because you think, well, I need more money, I'm gonna start that. It'll give me more money, and then I can save maybe a bit more or whatever. As soon as you hit 65, old age security starts. But for those of you that are a little bit behind, it's that much more important to look at delaying your Canadian pension plan. Again, maybe you're not able to save. So maybe you're sitting there at age 60 saying, I can't really save much, so I think I'm gonna take my Canadian pension plan, and thus I can take some of my income and save it for the future. But the reality is, if you delay your Canadian pension plan, you're going to get a much better return, guaranteed, than probably what you're going to be able to get investing your money. In fact, past 65, it's 8.4% every single year. That's a good, consistent, solid, guaranteed return. Before that, if you actually look at the numbers, it's reduced before 65. But if you go from 60 to 61, it's actually around 10% rate of return every single year up to age 65, right? And why it becomes such a large rate of return is because if you think about when you lose money on investments, if your investment goes from $100 to 50, you've lost 50%, but you need 100% to get back up there. So same thing, if you take your CPP at 65 versus 60, it's reduced by 36%. But to get back here, you need more than 36%. And that's why every year you wait past 60, you're actually bumping up your Canadian pension plan benefit by over 10%. Every year is a little bit different, but it's just over 10%. So it's a massive bump. So for those of you that have fallen behind, don't fall into the trap of taking your CPP, your Canadian pension plan, or old age security or OAS early. Delaying those will probably have a huge effect on your ability to have enough and retire on time.